All right, so let's talk about how small freight brokers are impacted by the increase in fuel cost. Let's just face it. I know we say all the time, our service, our freight brokerage, and that's good. But you don't have a service if you don't have a carrier. The freight broker is 100% dependent on truck drivers. Okay, so if truck drivers are impacted by what's going on within the economy, for example, fuel hikes right now, if truckers are being impacted, then there's a very high likelihood that brokerages will at some point too. Right now, big brokerages are not suffering at all. They are actually doing pretty well. But smaller freight brokerages will eventually start to see issues if price hikes continue. If we continue at these numbers, you are probably going to see some issues within your own business. The reason why that is because as carriers are affected by pricing, if they start to pull out of the industry, as some already are doing, that's going to give you access to less trucks as a freight broker. Because let's just think about it. Who do you think will get trucks faster? C.H. Robinson or your company? Of course, C.H. Robinson, because they have more leverage, they have more freight. So we're already in a tight capacity market. There's already a shortage of trucks, according to the ATA. So if we're already in a shortage, and then we also talked about how marijuana has impacted the industry and made us even shorter, now we're having a shortage based on, or could have a shortage based on price hikes at the fuel pump. That's going to make capacity even tighter. Okay, so you don't have any control as a brokerage over fuel hikes. There's nothing we can do about that. But we certainly need to have it in our minds and know that we can't function in the same way that we did in previous environments. Because if you do, then that could cause you some serious issues within your freight brokerage. Unfortunately, small freight brokers are not able to insulate themselves as well as the bigger brokerages are when it comes to passing on those costs. Guess who freight brokers have to pass these price hikes on to? You got it, the shipper. And you know it, you know in your own mind, even when we're not in these type of environments, shippers just don't accept prices. They're not going to say, oh, you know what? You're right. We're in an inflationary environment right now. Or you're right. Fuel has increased, so that justifies your price increase. Even though they know it may justify your price increase, they're still going to look at other options. And when they're exploring other options, those options are going to be better than what you have on the table a lot of times. And even when it's not better, even when you get the load, are you making a sufficient profit? Price increases causes problems all the way across the board. It first starts out with the consumer. The consumer feels the price hike the most because, hey, it's just okay. If the price is increased for shipping, we pass it on to the consumer. But after some time, it's not just going to be on the consumer. Carriers are going to start feeling these price hikes. Smaller carriers are going to start feeling these price hikes and possibly going out of business, putting more and more pressure on capacity, more and more pressure on your freight brokerage business. So we want to be aware of this. We know this is not something that we can control. We can stop these price hikes in fuel, especially. We don't have anything to do with that, but it would be a good idea to be aware of it as a brokerage. So I would suggest that you keep a keen eye on profit margins. You'll have some lanes that you might break even in, but you'll have some lanes that you can make up money in, and you really need to be taking advantage of that during these times, because you probably will see your profit margins, being impacted by what's going on. And I know some of you think that you can just pass these price increases on to shippers and there's no problem. Business as usual. Well, it works like that in a perfect world. And we know the trucking industry is not a perfect world. Shippers are not just going to accept those price increases just because you increase the price, even when you can explain it. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I certainly hope this information has been helpful. If you want to learn more about the freight broker business, I'll leave a free link in the description. It's the 5-video series. It's titled How the Load Movement Process Works. It gives you a chance to come into the office with me, watch over my shoulder as I move loads, Talk to shippers and carriers. That way you can have a better understanding of how this business works before you come into it. And then if you want to know more about how you transition from a part-time to a full-time freight broker, I'll leave a free video that you can check out right here. So until the next time, I wish you the very best in your life and business. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.